The meeting room on Nexus Prime Station was huge. Round tables filled the space, and strange alien beings sat around them. The air smelled different here, metallic and sharp. Kim Hwan adjusted his black suit and looked around the room. He was nervous, but he did not show it. Kim Hwan was Earth's top diplomat. He had come here to make peace. Next to him sat Admiral Park Jun, a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. Behind them, Lee Nari sat quietly. She was young, but very smart. "About war and strategy. The talks will begin now," said a voice from the speakers. The voice belonged to no human. It sounded like rocks grinding together. 7 different alien species had come to this meeting. They had been fighting each other for many years. Hundreds of worlds had burned. Millions had died. Now they wanted to stop the fighting and divide up space fairly. At least that was what they said they wanted. The Veltar were the first to speak. They looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. Their skin was dark green and covered in scales. Sharp teeth filled their mouths. The Veltar leader was called Commander Zexnal. He was bigger than the others, with red markings on his face. "We have controlled the outer rim for 300 years, Zexnal said. His voice was deep and scary. "These are our hunting grounds, our birthright. No other species may claim them." The Rex Syndicate leader made a sound like laughing, but it was not friendly. The Rex looked like giant spiders, but they had only 6 legs. Their leader had silver metal parts mixed with his natural body. "The Veltar speak of birthrights," he clicked. "We speak of trade routes. Money flows through the outer rim. That flow belongs to us." More aliens spoke. The Corvin looked like tall, thin birds with blue feathers. The Thane were short and wide, like walking rocks. The Zephyrian had tentacles instead of arms. The Mindari glowed with soft light. The Hegemony were covered in thick fur. All of them claimed parts of space. All of them had reasons why they deserved more territory. All of them had fought wars to get what they wanted. Kim Hwan listened to each species make their demands. He took notes on his tablet. The numbers did not add up. Each alien group wanted more space than actually existed. They were asking for the same planets, the same solar systems, the same trade routes. "Perhaps we should discuss this more carefully," Kim Hwan said when the aliens finished talking. He stood up slowly. "If we add up all your territorial claims, you are asking for twice as much space as exists in this region." Commander Zexanal turned his big head toward Kim Hwan. His yellow eyes looked the human up and down. "The new species speaks," he said. There was no respect in his voice. "Tell us, little human, how long has your kind traveled between stars?" "About 50 years, Kim Hwan replied honestly. The room filled with sounds. Some aliens clicked their tongues. Others made rumbling noises. The Rex leader's metal parts gleamed as he shook with what might have been laughter. 50 years, Zexnal said loudly. "We have been spacefaring for over 2,000 years. The Rex for 1,500. Even the youngest species here has traveled the stars for 3 centuries. And you think you can tell us how to divide our space?" Admiral Park Jun's hands tightened into fists under the table, but he said nothing. Lee Nari wrote something in her notebook. Her face showed no emotion, but her eyes were watching everything. "I am not telling you how to divide anything," Kim Hwan said calmly. "I am pointing out a mathematical problem. If we want to make a fair agreement, we need to be realistic about what is possible." The Corvin delegate flapped his feathered arms. "Realistic? You want to talk about realistic? Your ships are barely better than chemical rockets. Your weapons are primitive slug throwers. Your technology is so backward that most of us cannot believe you found your way here. Our sensors show human colonies have no real defenses," added the Thane representative. His voice sounded like rocks falling down a mountain. "Your military is weak. Your industry is small. Why are you even at this table?" Kim Hwan felt his cheeks grow warm, but he kept his voice steady. "We are here because the Galactic Coalition invited us. We are here because we want peace." "Peace," repeated the Zephyrian delegate. His tentacles moved in patterns that might have meant something. "Yes, humans always talk about peace. It is what weak species do when they cannot fight. The Mindari glowed brighter. The humans have nothing to offer. No advanced technology, no powerful fleets, no rich worlds. They are like children playing with adult toys. Children who somehow built faster than light engines, Park Jun said quietly. It was the first time he had spoken. Copied faster than light engines, corrected the hegemony delegate. We have seen your designs. They are based on old Rex technology that we threw away centuries ago. The Rex leader clicked his mandibles together. True, we sold those old engine plans to many primitive species. It gives them hope. It makes them feel important. But it does not make them equal to us. Kim Hwan tried again. Regardless of our technological level, we are part of this region of space. Human colonies exist on 17 worlds in the disputed territories. Our people live there. Our children are born there. We have a right to participate in decisions about their future. Rights? Commander Zexnal stood up. He was almost 3 meters tall. His claws scraped against the metal table. Rights are taken, not given. Rights belong to the strong. What has humanity taken? What strength have you shown? We have shown that we can travel to distant worlds and build new homes, Kim Hwan replied. We have shown that we can adapt to different environments. We have shown that we can work together. Work together, laughed the Corvin. Yes, humans are good at following orders. That is a useful skill. You would make excellent servants. The other aliens made sounds that might have been agreement. Lee Nari looked up from her notebook. Her eyes met Kim Hwan's for just a moment. There was something in her look. A warning, maybe. Or a question. Let us be practical, said the Rex leader. The humans are here. We cannot change that, but we can be realistic about their place in the galaxy. They are new. They are weak. They need protection. Protection that we can provide, added Commander Zexnal. The Veltar have always been generous to client species. We protect them from dangers they cannot handle themselves. In return, they provide us with resources and loyalty. Kim Hwan felt something cold in his stomach. Client species? It is a good arrangement, said the Thane delegate. You humans could have a small sector, maybe 5 or 6 systems. Under Veltar protection, of course. In return, you would provide materials and labor when needed. And you would be grateful, added the Corvin. Most new species would be happy to receive such an offer. It is better than being ignored completely. Admiral Park Jun stood up slowly. He was not as tall as the aliens, but something in his posture made them pay attention. You want us to be your servants, he said. Servants is such an ugly word, replied the Zephyrian. Think of it as a partnership, a very unequal partnership, but still a partnership. The terms are generous, said Commander Zexnal. 5 systems. Protection from raiders and pirates. Trade rights with the coalition. Most species your age get nothing. Kim Hwan looked around the room. Every alien face showed the same expression. Amusement mixed with contempt. They thought this was funny. They thought humans should be grateful for scraps. We came here in good faith, Kim Hwan said quietly. His voice was still calm, but there was something different in it now. Something harder. We came here hoping to find equals who wanted to build a better future together. Equals? The Rex leader's mandibles clicked rapidly. Humans and equals? That is very funny. We see that was our mistake, Kim Hwan continued. He reached down and closed his tablet. Humanity withdraws from these negotiations. We will find our own path forward. The room went quiet. For a moment, no one moved. Then Commander Zexnal started laughing. It was a terrible sound, like metal being torn apart. The humans are upset. They are taking their toys and going home. Other aliens joined in the laughter. The Corvin flapped their wings. The Thane made rumbling sounds. Even the glowing Mindari seemed to pulse with amusement. Kim Hwan picked up his papers. Admiral Park Jun and Lee Nari stood with him. The 3 humans walked toward the door with dignity, their backs straight. This is what happens when children try to sit at the adult table, called the Rex leader. They get angry when they cannot have everything they want. Do not worry, little humans. shouted Commander Zexnall. "When you are ready to be realistic, we will still be here. The offer will still be good." "Maybe." The humans reached the door. Kim Hwan stopped and turned around one last time. The aliens were still laughing and making jokes. They looked so sure of themselves, so confident that they were right. "Goodbye," Kim Hwan said simply. The door closed behind them with a soft sound. In the hallway, Admiral Park Jun let out a long breath. "That went well," he said. There was bitter humor in his voice. "Better than I expected," replied Lee Nari. "Now we know exactly what they think of us." Kim Hwan nodded. "Yes. Now we know." Behind them, they could still hear the aliens laughing. Through the thick metal door, the sound followed them all the way to their ship. 3 months had passed since the failed peace talks. The galaxy continued to burn with war, but something strange was happening. The humans had vanished. At first, nobody noticed. The alien species were too busy fighting each other to care about. One small primitive race. Commander Zexnall of the Veltar was leading attacks on Rex trade ships. The Corvin were bombing Thane mining worlds. The Zephyrian pirates raided everyone who crossed their path. But slowly, reports began to reach the alien governments. Human trade ships were no longer visiting alien ports. Human colonies that once welcomed alien visitors now turned them away at the borders. Human diplomatic offices in major alien cities had closed their doors. Choi Bin sat in a dark room on Earth, looking at dozens of screens. He was in charge of human intelligence operations. For months, he had been sending secret messages to every human settlement in the galaxy. The message was always the same. "Come home. Project Exodus begins now." "Status report," Choi Bin said to his assistant. 97% of our people have returned from alien space," the assistant replied. "The remaining 3% are in deep cover operations. They will stay hidden until further orders." Choi Bin nodded. "Good. And the colonies?" "All human colonies have activated their new defense systems. No alien ships are being allowed to land. We are telling them it is for health and safety reasons." "Perfect. The aliens must not know what we are really doing." On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Yoon Tae received new orders on his exploration ship. The message came directly from Earth Command. It was short and clear. "Abandon all operations in alien space. Proceed to Sector 7 Alpha immediately. Begin deep space exploration." Yoon Tae looked at the message for a long time. Sector 7 Alpha was beyond the edge of known space. It was empty. Nothing lived there. No planets, no resources, no reason for anyone to go there. "Sir?" asked his second-in-command. "What are our orders?" "We are going exploring," Yoon Tae said. "Far from here. Very far." At the same time, thousands of other human ships received similar orders. Cargo vessels, passenger ships, research stations, mining operations. All of them were told to leave alien space and head for the empty regions beyond the galactic rim. The aliens began to notice after 2 months. The Rex Syndicate was the first to complain. They had been making good money from trade with human colonies. Now that trade had stopped completely. "Where are the humans?" asked the Rex trade leader. His name was Click Tar, and he had metal parts covering half his body. "They owe us money. They have contracts to fulfill." "Maybe they are scared," suggested his assistant. "The galaxy is dangerous right now. Maybe they are hiding." Clicktar clicked his mandibles together. "Hiding like the cowards they are. This is what happens when weak species try to play with the strong ones." But the Rex were not the only ones asking questions. The Corvin military had been using human colonies as supply stops during their war with the Thane. Now those colonies refused to sell them fuel or food. "The humans say they are neutral," reported a Corvin officer to his commander. "They will not help anyone in the war." "Neutral?" The Corvin commander ruffled his blue feathers angrily. "They are nobody. They cannot choose to be neutral. We will force them to help us." But when Corvin warships approached human colonies, they found something surprising. The colonies now had defense platforms floating in space around them. The platforms were strange-looking. sleek and dark, with no obvious weapons, but they sent out powerful energy readings that made the Corvin sensors go crazy. "Warning," came a calm human voice over the radio. "You are approaching restricted space. Please change course immediately." "This is Commander Velkin of the Corvin fleet," the bird-like alien replied. "We demand landing rights and supplies. You will comply." "Negative. All alien vessels are prohibited from entering this system. This is your final warning." Commander Velkan was angry. "You cannot stop us. We are coming down whether you like it or not." The Corvin ships moved closer to the human colony. Suddenly their engines stopped working, their weapons would not fire. Their navigation systems went blank. The ships just floated in space, completely helpless. "Your ships will be released when you leave our space," the human voice said. "Have a nice day." The Corvin ships were pushed away by invisible forces. As soon as they crossed the boundary of the star system, their systems came back online. They tried to return, but the same thing happened again. Similar incidents occurred throughout the galaxy. Alien ships that approached human space found themselves unable to enter. The humans were polite but firm. They would not allow any aliens to visit their worlds. The strangest reports came from the deep space patrols. Thane mining ships detected massive energy signatures in the void between stars. The signatures were in areas where nothing should exist. No planets, no asteroids, no reason for anyone to be there. "Send a probe to investigate," ordered the Thane mining commander. The probe traveled for days through empty space following the energy readings. When it finally reached the source, it found something impossible. Huge structures floated in the darkness, bigger than anything the Thane had ever built. They looked like cities made of metal and light, but they were not attached to any planet or moon. "How is this possible?" the Thane commander asked. "What are those things?" The probe's sensors tried to analyze the structures, but most of the technology was completely unknown. The probe did detect one thing clearly. The structures were human. "Humans built this?" The commander could not believe it. "But they are primitives. They barely know how to make faster-than-light engines." More disturbing reports came from the Zephyrian raiders. They had tried to attack what they thought was a defenseless human cargo ship. The ship looked old and slow, like an easy target, but when the Zephyrian pirates fired their weapons, the human ship did not explode. Instead, it seemed to absorb the energy attacks. Then it fired back with weapons that cut through the pirate ship like it was made of paper. "Impossible," the surviving Zephyrian pirates reported. "Human weapons cannot do that. Our shields should have stopped anything they could build." At Nexus Prime Station, the peace talks continued without the humans. The alien species were still fighting over territory, but now they had a new problem. Without human trade and resources, their war was becoming more expensive. "We need to contact the humans," said the Rex leader Kliktar. "Tell them to come back. We can offer them better terms." "Why should we care about the humans?" asked Commander Zexnal. "They walked away from our generous offer. Let them hide in their holes." "Because they had things we needed," Kliktar replied. "Food, minerals, manufactured goods. Our war effort is suffering without their supplies." The Mindari delegate glowed softly. "I have been analyzing the reports from our patrols. The humans are not hiding. They are building something big." "Building what?" asked the Corvin representative. "Unknown, but the energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Whatever they are doing, it requires technology we do not understand." Commander Zexnal laughed, but it sounded forced. "The humans? Advanced technology? That is impossible. We have seen their ships. We know their capabilities." "Do we?" asked the Thane delegate. "When was the last time any of us actually inspected human technology closely? When was the last time we took them seriously enough to really study what they could do?" The room fell quiet. The aliens looked at each other with growing unease. They had dismissed the humans as primitives, but what if they were wrong? What if the humans had been hiding their real abilities? "Send a diplomatic mission," suggested the Zephyrian representative. "Contact the humans. Find out what they are doing. And if they refuse to talk to us? Asked Kliktar. Then we will know we have a problem, replied the Mindari delegate. Far away on Earth, Choibin received a report that made him smile. Sir, we are detecting alien ships trying to enter human space. They are requesting permission to land. Denied, Choibin said immediately. All alien contact is prohibited until further notice. They are saying they want to talk. They are offering new trade agreements. Choibin's smile grew wider. How generous of them. Tell them we are not interested. Sir, should we tell them about Project Exodus? No, Choibin replied. Let them wonder. Let them worry. The longer they remain ignorant, the better for us. He looked at his screens, showing the locations of human operations throughout the galaxy. Most of the aliens still thought humans were hiding like scared children. They had no idea that humanity was preparing for something much bigger. Phase 2 begins tomorrow, Choibin said to himself. I wonder how long it will take them to figure out what we are really doing. The answer would come sooner than he expected. 6 months had passed since humanity walked away from the peace talks. The galaxy was falling apart. The war between the Veltar and the Rex had grown bigger and more deadly. Other species had been forced to pick sides. Worlds burned. Trade routes collapsed. Millions of refugees fled from system to system looking for safety. The galactic coalition was breaking into pieces. Without trade and cooperation, the alien civilizations were destroying themselves. Admiral Thexandra of the Corvin fleet was desperate. Her people needed supplies, but the war had made normal trade routes too dangerous. She decided to take her ships into the empty regions beyond the galactic rim. Maybe they could find resources there, or at least a safe place to regroup. Set course for Sector 7 Alpha, she ordered her crew. Her blue feathers were dull from stress. We will search the void for anything useful. Admiral, said her navigation officer. Our star maps show nothing in that region. It is empty space. Empty space means no enemies, Thexandra replied. Right now. That sounds perfect. The Corvin fleet traveled for 3 days through the darkness, between stars. Their sensors showed nothing but void. No planets, no asteroids, no signs of life. Just the cold emptiness of space. Then, on the 4th day, everything changed. Admiral, shouted the sensor officer, I am detecting massive energy signatures ahead. Thexandra looked at the readings on her screen. The numbers made no sense. That cannot be right. Check your equipment. Equipment is functioning normally. Admiral, the energy signatures are real and they are huge. The Corvin fleet moved closer to investigate. What they found was impossible to believe. Floating in the empty void were structures that dwarfed anything they had ever seen. Cities of metal and crystal hung in space, powered by captured starlight. Massive ships moved between the structures, sleek and beautiful in ways that made the Corvin vessels look crude and ugly. By the ancient wings, whispered Thexandra. What is this place? Her communications officer looked up from his station. Admiral, we are being scanned. Something is detecting us. A new voice came over the radio. It was calm and professional, speaking in perfect Corvin language. Unknown vessels, this is Captain Beksu of the Terran Federation ship Starforge. You have entered human-administered space. State your business or depart immediately. Thexandra felt her heart stop. Human space? But there is nothing here. Our maps show empty void. Your maps are out of date, Captain Beksu replied. This region is now under human control. You have 2 minutes to explain why you are here. Through her view screen, Thexandra could see the human ship approaching. It was unlike anything in her databases. The vessel seemed to bend space around, itself moving in ways that should have been impossible. Energy flowed across its hull like living light. This is Admiral Thexandra of the Corvin fleet, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. We are seeking supplies and safe passage. We had no idea anyone lived in this region. Lived? Captain Beksu sounded amused. Admiral, we do not just live here, we built here. This is New Horizon, one of 17 human settlements in this sector. 17 settlements? Thexandra's mind raced. The humans had built 17 cities in what was supposed to be empty space? How is this possible? 6 months ago, your people were barely able to travel between stars. 6 months ago, your people made it clear that we were not welcome in your part of the galaxy, Captain, Beksu replied. His voice grew colder. We accepted that decision and found our own space. Another voice joined the conversation. Admiral Thexandra, this is General Xin Wu of the Terran Defense Force. You are in violation of our territorial boundaries. The general's ship appeared on Thexandra's sensors. It was even more advanced than Captain Beksu's vessel. The energy readings were so high that her instruments could barely measure them. Territorial boundaries? Thexandra asked. But this is unclaimed space. No one owns the void between stars. The Galactic Coalition chose to exclude humanity from territorial negotiations, General Xin Wu replied. We respected that decision. We found our own territory and claimed it according to our own laws. Thexandra looked at her tactical officer. He was staring at his screens with wide eyes. Admiral, he whispered, their ships are armed with weapons I do not recognize. The energy output is beyond our ability to measure. You have two choices, General Xin Wu continued. Leave immediately, or be escorted out. We have no quarrel with the Corvan people, but we also have no obligation to help you. Wait, Thexandra said quickly. We are not here to fight. We are refugees. Our worlds are burning. We need supplies, medicine, shelter for our people. There was a long pause. Then Captain Beksu spoke again. That is unfortunate, Admiral, but it is not our problem. The Corvan government chose to mock humanity when we sought peace. They called us primitives and laughed at our technology. Why should we help them now? Because people are dying, Thexandra said desperately. Innocent civilians who had nothing to do with those peace talks. People die in wars, General Xin Wu replied. The Corvan knew this when they chose to fight instead of seeking real peace. We offered to help mediate your conflicts. You refused. We offered to share resources fairly. You laughed at us. Thexandra's navigation officer looked up from his station. Admiral, I am detecting more human ships approaching. Dozens of them. They are surrounding us. The Corvan admiral looked at her tactical display. Human vessels were appearing from all directions, emerging from what looked like empty space. Each ship was more advanced than anything the Corvan had ever built. Admiral, her engineer said quietly, I am analyzing their hull designs. The technology is centuries ahead of ours, maybe thousands of years ahead. That is impossible, Thexandra said. 6 months ago they were using primitive chemical rockets. Were they? Asked Captain Beksu. Or were they simply showing you what you expected to see? Did you ever actually examine human technology closely? Or did you just assume we were primitive because we were new to your galactic stage? The truth hit Thexandra like a physical blow. The humans had never been primitive. They had been hiding their real capabilities. While the aliens looked down on them and mocked their simple ships, the humans had been building an empire in secret. You tricked us, she whispered. We did not trick anyone, General Xin Wu replied. We simply did not reveal our full capabilities. When you assume someone is weak, you do not look closely enough to see their real strength. Admiral, her communications officer called out, I am detecting transmissions between the human ships. They are using quantum encryption methods that are completely unknown to us. And Admiral, added her sensor officer, the structures around us are not just cities. They are factories, industrial complexes, military bases. The humans have built an entire civilization here. Thexandra felt sick. While the galaxy tore itself apart in war, humanity had been quietly building something magnificent. They had turned empty void into a thriving empire. How many people live here, she asked. That information is classified, Captain Beksu replied. But I will tell you this. Every human who was living in alien space has been relocated here. Plus many more who were born here in the past 6 months. Born here? But that is impossible. You cannot have children and raise them in space. Admiral, General Xin Wu said patiently, you are looking at 17 self-sustaining habitats, each capable of supporting millions of people. We have artificial gravity, Controlled atmosphere, hydroponic farms, industrial facilities. Everything needed for a complete civilization. But the resources, the energy, how do you power all of this? We harvest energy directly from stars, Captain Baiksu explained. We mine asteroids and rogue planets. We have turned the empty void into the most productive region in the galaxy. Thexandra's tactical officer made a choking sound. Admiral, our sensors are detecting human installations throughout this entire sector. Not just 17 settlements, hundreds of them. They have built more infrastructure here than exists in the entire Corvan Empire. All in 6 months? Thexandra asked weakly. All in 6 months, confirmed General Xinwu. When you are not wasting resources on pointless wars, you can accomplish remarkable things. The Corvan Admiral looked around at the impossible human achievement. Cities floating in space, ships that bent reality, technology that made her most advanced weapons look like stone knives. What do you want from us? She asked. Nothing, Captain, Baiksu replied. We want nothing from any of you. You made it clear that humanity was not welcome in your galaxy. We accepted that. We found our own place. But we could trade. We could share knowledge. We could help each other. Could we? General Xinwu asked. 6 months ago, when we offered to help negotiate peace, what did your government say? When we suggested fair resource sharing, what was the response? Thexandra remembered. The Corvan representatives had laughed. They had called humans primitive. We made a mistake, she said quietly. Yes, General Xinwu agreed. You did. And now you must live with the consequences of that mistake. Admiral, her navigation officer said urgently, more human ships are arriving. Military vessels. They are much larger than anything we have ever seen. Thexandra looked at her screens and felt her blood turn cold. The approaching human warships were bigger than space stations. The news spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Admiral Thexandra's report reached every alien government within days. The impossible truth hit them like a hammer. Humanity had not just survived their exile from galactic politics. They had built an empire. At the emergency meeting on Nexus Prime, the alien leaders sat in stunned silence. The same room where they had mocked humanity 6 months ago now felt cold and frightening. This cannot be true, Commander Zexnal said, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. Humans building cities in space? Impossible. They are primitives. The Rex trade leader Kliktar clicked his mandibles nervously. Our intelligence services confirm Admiral Thexandra's report. The humans have established a massive presence in the outer void. Our traders who tried to contact them were turned away. Turned away how? Asked the Corvan representative. Politely but firmly. The humans said they were not interested in resuming trade relations. The Mindari delegate glowed with agitation. I have been analyzing energy signatures from the deep space regions. The readings are beyond anything in our databases. If the humans are generating that much power, their technology must be centuries ahead of ours. Centuries? The Thane delegate's rocky face showed confusion. 6 months ago, we examined their ship designs. They were using basic fusion engines and chemical propulsion. How could they advance so quickly? Maybe they did not advance, said the Zephyrian representative quietly. Maybe they were already advanced and we never noticed. The room fell silent. The terrible possibility hung in the air like poison gas. Had humanity fooled them all? Had the primitive humans been hiding their true capabilities? Commander Zexnal stood up, his massive frame shaking with anger. Even if they have better technology, they are still just one species. We are 7 civilizations. We can crush them if we work together. With what? Asked Kliktar. Our fleets are busy destroying each other. Half our ships are damaged or destroyed. Our economies are collapsing because of this stupid war. And, added the Mindari delegate, if the humans really have built an empire in 6 months, what do you think their military capabilities are like? Before anyone could answer, a new voice spoke from the room's communication system. That is an excellent question. The alien spun around looking for the source of the voice. The lights dimmed and a holographic image appeared in the center of the room. It showed a human woman in a crisp military uniform. "How did you get into our secure communications?" demanded Commander Zexnall. Colonel An-Su smiled. "Your security is not as secure as you think. We have been monitoring your communications for months." "Impossible. Our encryption is primitive," Colonel An-Su finished. "Like everything else about your technology. We cracked your codes in minutes." The aliens stared at the hologram in shock. The human woman looked completely calm and confident. There was no fear in her eyes, no respect for the powerful alien leaders watching her. "Why are you here?" asked the Corvin representative. "President Oyan of the Terran Federation has a message for the Galactic Coalition," Colonel An-Su replied. "She will deliver it personally." The hologram changed, showing an older human woman with kind eyes but a firm expression. She sat behind a desk that looked like it was made from some kind of alien crystal. "Greetings," President Oyan said. "6 months ago, you invited humanity to participate in peace negotiations. We in good faith, hoping to build a better future for all species in galaxy," Commander Zexnall snarled. "You walked away from our generous offer," President Oyan continued as if she had not heard him. "Instead of negotiation, we found mockery. Instead of cooperation, we found contempt. You made it clear that humanity was not welcome as an equal partner." "Because you are not equal," shouted the Rex leader. "You are primitives, are we?" President Oyan smiled. "Engineer Kang Min, please show our guests what primitive humanity has accomplished." The hologram switched to show a human man in a laboratory coat. Behind him were displays showing technical diagrams that made the aliens' heads hurt just looking at them. "6 months ago, you examined our ships and declared our technology primitive," Engineer Kang Min said. "You were looking at our cargo vessels and civilian transports. You never asked to see our real technology." The diagrams behind him showed ship designs that defied everything the aliens knew about physics. Engines that folded space, weapons that manipulated matter at the atomic level, shields that existed in multiple dimensions. "This is impossible," whispered the Thane delegate. "Is it?" Engineer Kang Min asked. "You assumed we were primitive because we were new to your galactic stage. But humanity did not just discover faster-than-light travel. We perfected it. While you were content with slow, inefficient engines, we found ways to make space itself bend to our will." The hologram showed more images. Massive human installations floating in the void, ships bigger than cities, factories that could build entire fleets in days rather than years. "While you squabbled over pieces of claimed territory," Engineer Kang Min continued, "we found infinite resources in the empty spaces between stars. While you fought wars over trade routes, we learned to create matter from energy itself." Commander Zexnall looked like he was about to be sick. "But your colonies, your defenses, we saw them. They were weak. You saw what we wanted you to. See?" President Oyan said, returning to the hologram. "Every human colony in alien space was equipped with stealth technology and hidden defenses. We kept our real capabilities secret because we hoped for peaceful coexistence." "Then why reveal them now?" asked the Mindari delegate. "Because the situation has changed," President Oyan replied. "Your wars are threatening innocent lives throughout the galaxy. Refugee ships are fleeing dying worlds. Children are starving, while you fight over pride and territory." "That is not our fault," protested the Corvin representative. "Is it not? You chose war over peace. You chose pride over cooperation. You chose to mock those who offered help instead of accepting it." Colonel An-Su reappeared in the hologram. "The Terran Federation has a proposal for the Galactic Coalition." "We are listening," said Kliktar. "Immediate ceasefire in all current conflicts. Withdrawal of all military forces to pre-war boundaries. Establishment of neutral zones for refugee resettlement. And recognition of human territorial claims in the outer void regions." Commander Zexnall laughed, but it sounded forced. "And if we refuse?" Colonel An-Su's expression did not change. "Then you will continue your wars without human interference. But you will also continue them without human resources, technology, or aid." "We do not need your help," Zexnall roared. Do you not? President Oyeon asked. Your war has lasted 8 months and shows no sign of ending. Your economies are collapsing, your people are dying. How much longer can you sustain this conflict? B. Sao. Aliens looked at each other uncomfortably. The truth was that all their civilizations were suffering. The war was draining resources faster than they could replace them. And if we agree to your terms, AQ, asked the Thane delegate, then humanity will provide humanitarian aid to all affected populations. Medical supplies, food, shelter for refugees. We will also share certain technologies that could help rebuild your damaged worlds. Why would you help us? The Zephyrian representative asked suspiciously. After the way we treated you? President Oyeon's expression softened slightly. Because helping others is what humans do. We do not seek revenge. We seek progress. But we will never again allow ourselves to be dismissed or underestimated. The Yao hologram changed one final time, showing a massive human fleet hanging in space. The ships were beautiful and terrible, clearly designed for war but elegant in their deadly purpose. This is the Terran Defense Fleet, Colonel Ansu announced. It consists of over 10,000 vessels, each more advanced than anything in your combined navies. This fleet was built in the past 6 months, using resources and technology you declared impossible. The aliens stared at the impossible sight. 10,000 ships, each one a masterpiece of engineering that made their own vessels look like children's toys. We do not want to use this fleet, President Oyeon said. We built it to protect our people and our new territory. But if any species threatens human interests or human lives, we will not hesitate to act. Commander Zexnal tried one last bluff. You are still just one species against 7. Numbers matter, do they? Colonel Ansu asked. Admiral Thexandra encountered just 3 of our ships and fled in terror. How do you think your combined fleets would fare against 10,000? The truth was written on every alien face. They could not win a war against humanity. The species they had dismissed as primitives had become the most powerful force in the galaxy. You have 24 hours to consider our proposal, President Oyeon said. After that, the offer expires. Choose wisely. The hologram flickered and disappeared, leaving the aliens alone with their fear and regret. In the silence that followed, Kliktar spoke first. We have to accept their terms. Never, Commander Zexnal snarled. The Veltar do not bow to primitives. The primitives just showed us a fleet that could destroy our entire civilization, the Mindari delegate pointed out. Pride is a luxury we can no longer afford. The debate continued through the night, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The galaxy had learned too late that underestimating humanity was the Gyar. 1 year had passed since humanity walked away from the peace talks. The galaxy was a very different place now. The wars had ended, but not because the aliens had found peace on their own. They had ended because humanity had imposed peace upon them. Fleet Admiral Zhang Hai stood on the bridge of the TSF Harmony, watching as his massive fleet emerged from hyperspace above the burning world of Veltar Prime. The planet had been under siege for 3 months, with millions of civilians trapped in the crossfire between Veltar government forces and Rex rebels. Admiral, reported his communications officer, we are receiving distress signals from the planet's surface. Civilian casualties are mounting rapidly. Zhang Hai nodded grimly. Begin Operation Peaceful Dawn. All ships to humanitarian formation. The human fleet spread out across the system in perfect coordination. There were 500 ships in total, each one a marvel of engineering that made the warring alien vessels look like ancient relics. Attention all combatants, Zhang Hai broadcast, on all frequencies. This is Fleet Admiral Zhang Hai of the Terran Federation. You are ordered to cease all military operations immediately. Any ship that fires weapons will be disabled. On the planet's surface, Commander Zexnal of the Veltar forces received the message with rage and desperation. His once mighty empire was crumbling, torn apart by civil war and rebellion. The appearance of the human fleet was the final insult. I will not be ordered around by primitives, he roared, ordering his remaining ships to attack the humans. The Veltar vessels opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams and missile volleys streaked toward the human fleet. But the attacks never reached their targets. The human ships seemed to absorb the energy attacks, turning the weapons' power against the attackers themselves. Within minutes, every Veltar warship was floating dead in space, their crews unharmed, but their weapons and engines completely disabled. How is this possible? Zexanal demanded over the radio. Technology, Jiang Hai replied simply. The same technology you dismissed as primitive 1 year ago. The Rex rebel ships tried to flee, but found themselves caught in invisible nets of energy. They could not move, could not escape, could not fight. They were completely helpless. All combatants will now listen carefully, Jiang Hai announced. Terran Federation medical ships are approaching your planet. They will evacuate all wounded civilians and provide emergency aid. Any attempt to interfere will result in immediate intervention. Human ships descended toward Veltar Prime like angels of mercy. They ignored the ongoing ground battles, focusing only on rescuing the innocent people caught in the crossfire. Their medical technology was so advanced that wounds, which would have meant certain death, were healed within hours. This is impossible, whispered a Veltar medic as she watched human doctors regrow a child's severed arm using nothing but light and energy. How do they do this? Does it matter? Replied her colleague. The child will live. That is what matters. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Wherever there was conflict, human ships appeared to impose peace, not through conquest or domination, but through overwhelming technological superiority that made resistance pointless. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Coalition held its first meeting since accepting humanity's terms. The mood was very different from the arrogant confidence of a year ago. Ambassador Lim Yun sat at the head of the table, her position reflecting humanity's new status as the galaxy's dominant power. She was younger than Kim Hwan had been, but her eyes held the same steady determination. The Terran Federation has completed its humanitarian mission in the Veltar system, she announced. All civilian casualties have been evacuated and treated. The warring factions have agreed to participate in mediated peace talks. Agreed? Asked the Corvin representative. Or were forced to agree? They were presented with the choice, Lim Yun replied diplomatically. Continue fighting and accomplish nothing, or accept help in finding a real solution to their conflict. Commander Zexnal, now a broken shadow of his former self, spoke from his position at the far end of the table. What you call choice, we call coercion. You force us to accept your terms through superior technology. Yes, Lim Yun agreed without hesitation. Just as you once tried to force us to accept your terms through superior numbers. The difference is that our terms actually work. The Rex leader Kliktar leaned forward. The galaxy is at peace for the first time in decades. Trade routes are open. Refugees are being resettled. How do you accomplish what we could not? By focusing on solutions instead of pride, Lim Yun replied. By choosing cooperation over conquest. By remembering that we are all citizens of the same galaxy. Dr. Wu Sang, the new director of Galactic Relations, stood up to address the assembly. Humanity offers a new model for galactic governance. Not rule by the strongest, but cooperation guided by wisdom. Cooperation enforced by your superior technology, the Thane delegate pointed out. Yes, Dr. Wu Sang agreed. Because without enforcement, cooperation fails. You proved that with centuries of warfare. The Mindari delegate glowed softly. What does humanity want from us? Tribute? Submission? Slavery? We want what we have always wanted, Lim Yun replied. Peace. Prosperity. A chance for all species to grow and thrive together. And if we refuse? Asked the Zephyrian representative. Then you will be left alone to solve your own problems, Dr. Wu Sang said. But you will solve them without human resources, human technology, or human protection. And you will not be allowed to threaten the peaceful systems under our care. The aliens looked around the table at each other. Over the past year, they had learned what it meant to live without human support. Their economies had collapsed. Their technologies had stagnated. Their wars had brought nothing but destruction. You have created a situation where we have no choice but to accept your leadership, the Corvin representative said bitterly. No, Lim Yun corrected. We have created a situation where cooperation is more profitable than conflict. You always had the choice to work together peacefully. You simply chose not to, until forced to see the benefits. The benefits of submission, Commander Zexnall muttered. The benefits of progress, Dr. Wusang replied. Your wounded are being healed by human medicine. Your hungry are being fed by human agriculture. Your refugees are being housed in human-built habitats. Is this submission, or is this the cooperation you should have chosen from the beginning? The meeting continued for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The galaxy had a new order, and humanity stood at its center. Not as conquerors, but as guardians of a peace that had been impossible to achieve through traditional means. Later that evening, Ambassador Lim Yun stood in her quarters, looking out at the stars through a viewport that showed impossible clarity. The galaxy stretched before her, no longer a collection of warring territories but a unified whole. Madam Ambassador, her assistant said, we have received a message from Earth. The memorial service for Ambassador Kim Hwan is scheduled for next week. Lim Yun nodded sadly. Kim Hwan had died 6 months ago, but he had lived to see humanity's triumph. His final words had been, we came seeking equals and found superiors. We became superiors by being equals. Send a reply, Lim Yun said. Tell them I will attend, and tell them that his legacy lives on in everything we have accomplished. She thought about the journey that had brought them here. 1 year ago, humanity had been dismissed as primitive weaklings. Now they were the galaxy's protectors, the species that others looked to for leadership and guidance. The irony was not lost on her. The aliens had created their own superiors through their own arrogance and prejudice. They had been given the chance to welcome humanity as partners and equals. Instead, they had driven humanity to become something greater than any of them had ever imagined. On Earth, in a quiet garden dedicated to those who had died in the galactic wars, Kim Hwan's memorial stone bore a simple inscription. He sought peace and found it, though not in the way he expected. Admiral Park Jun's stone placed beside it read, he served humanity with honor, and humanity honored the galaxy with peace. The two men had not lived to see the final victory, but their sacrifice had not been in vain. The galaxy they had dreamed of, a place where all species could live and work together in harmony, had finally been achieved. It had simply required humanity to stop asking for permission and start providing solutions. As ships bearing the flag of the Terran Federation launched toward distant stars, they carried with them a message that the galaxy had learned too late. Never underestimate a species that has the courage to walk away from injustice and the wisdom to build something better. The peace talks had failed, but peace itself had succeeded. And at its heart stood humanity. No longer the supplicants begging for acceptance, but the guardians ensuring that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. The galaxy had finally learned to respect the species they had once dismissed. Unfortunately for them, that respect had come at the cost of their independence. But in the end, even the proud alien civilizations had to admit that humanity's rule was kinder and more just than anything they had ever achieved on their own. The primitives had become the protectors, the rejected had become the rulers, and the galaxy was better for it. The end.